Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain For You. We got another gray day out here. It's kind of crazy. So, today's topic is going to be Stinkin Thinkin. All right, kind of a funny title, but hopefully you'll find some value in this. Before we do, we'll take a couple of nice deep breaths. Breathe in deep. Breathe in the peace. Exhale the noise. Breathe in the confidence. Exhale the doubt. All right. So, stinkin' thinking. You know, some people say some of the things I talk about sound a lot like the 3 Principles, which is by Sid Banks. And there's a whole community of people surrounding that. Some people think it's a little woo-woo and out there and not concrete enough or not specific enough. I'm trying to, I guess, bridge the gap between some of their concepts and some of the more practical things. I don't know. This isn't a 3 Principles talk here, but one of the things that Hannah Studley talks about often is we are always feeling our thinking, right? That's a Sid Banks thing. It's a thing that Hannah talks about, and it's true. It's very much true. So, without being overly crude, if you're feeling like shit, evaluate. You're probably thinking like shit, right? Especially as it relates to things like anxiety, depression, panic attacks, fear, worrisome thoughts, catastrophic thinking. Oh my God, what if I never get better? How's that going to leave you feeling? Right? Stinkin' thinking. And what's interesting is we don't need to stop the stinking thoughts. But I just believe we don't need to believe them. They're just thoughts. They don't mean anything. Let them float by. We just had a couple of geese fly overhead. They're just thoughts. They just pass by. Make a little noise while they're here, then they're gone. Thoughts are no different than clouds in the sky. They pass. Sometimes it's kind of stormy, and it's gray, and it's overcast, and it's raining, storming, hailing, snowing, whatever. But the storm always passes. So if you're having some stinking thinking, and you're feeling really kind of crappy in the moment, just know it's a storm. It's going to pass. It always does. Right? There's always a sunny day after the stormy day. It may take a few days for the storm to pass, may take a few weeks, but inevitably the storm always passes. So, are you engaging in stinking thinking? This, I'm broken, I need to fix myself. Stinking thinking. This, the thought that this is not going to work for me. I'm too anxious, I'm too much in panic, I've had too much trauma. More stinking thinking. Right? If the goal is to teach the brain and the central nervous system to calm the heck down, all that stinking thinking's going to do is keep you in the fear response, the stress response, keep your adrenaline and cortisol going, amplify the nervous system. And so that was cool. A nice hawk was flying by and there was a crow chasing it. I love nature. So stinking thinking. How much of our troubles are truly created by the outside world versus our thinking about the outside world? How much of our thinking is created by just the way we interpret things, And look, I tell you all the time, indifference. Be indifferent to the pain or the symptoms, regardless of the symptoms. Be indifferent. And everybody's like, but how am I supposed to be indifferent? Well, how you respond to the pain doesn't necessarily, it's not a fix, but boy, it can certainly influence. Because if you freak out about the pain or the symptoms, if you engage in stinking thinking about the pain or the symptoms, inevitably that's going to make you feel worse. If not physically with the pain, emotionally through the suffering that the stinking thinking creates. And so we all do this. Every time we are faced with what we perceive to be a problem, whether it be anxiety, depression, panic attacks, physical pain, other symptoms, whether it be nausea, dizziness, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, it doesn't really matter what the symptoms are. If you take a, matter-of-fact type of way, say, well, whatever, I don't really care. I'm not going to put a lot of energy into that because I know, because I've learned about this TMS thing and I've done the assessments and I've accepted it, right? Yesterday's video, the most important thing to figure out. If you haven't done it, do it. But where does the suffering come in? The suffering comes from our stinking thinking about these symptoms that we are so convinced shouldn't be there, so we have to desperately work to fix them. And look, we can have the pain, we can have the symptoms, but if we're not freaked out by it, inevitably, at least emotionally, we're going to be feeling a lot better. We're not going to struggle as much. We are not going to suffer as much if, in fact, we can take more of an indifferent approach to our symptoms and our perceived troubles. Now, use that word perceived on purpose, because if you wake up and you're getting this anxious feeling like, something bad's going to happen today, the perception that that's a bad thing is what makes it a bad thing. The perception that says, I'm feeling a little anxious today. Well, let me get on with my day, and today's an anxious day, so what? You see the difference between, how those two scenarios feel? One says, oh my God, I've got anxiety, I gotta fix that, I gotta get rid of it, this is awful. And the other one that goes, feeling a little bit anxious today, what's going on? What was going on yesterday? What's going on today? What's going on tomorrow? Anything jumping out at me? Oh yeah, I got this thing coming up, or that thing coming up, or I had this conversation with so-and-so. Yeah, no wonder I'm feeling anxious. Okay, good. Never mind. I'm gonna go on. Do something productive. Do something that brings you joy, purpose, meaning, happiness. Right? It's our perception of the world. It's our perception of our symptoms. It's our perception of these things. And so that's where the stinking thinking comes in. If all you're doing is thinking about how big of a problem you've got, guess what happens to that problem? It grows and it magnifies, right? Whatever we focus on gets bigger. So why focus on the negatives? Why have the stinking thinking about everything that's wrong? Why not shift your attention to the positive stuff? To, it's overcast today, but guess what? It's still beautiful. Got these great woods behind me. There's a house back there, which, by the way, in the spring and summer, you can barely see the house, but right now it's plain as day because all the trees have no leaves. But that was just a simple observation, like, look at that. Look at the difference. That's being present. I could sit here and complain about, oh my God, I hate it when there's no leaves on the trees and it's dark and it's gray and it's cold out. Right? That's stinking thinking about the season and the time of year and the weather. Is that going to help me feel better about today? No. Instead, I just choose to come out here, talk to you guys and gals, have a conversation. If you're feeling like shit, you're probably thinking like shit. How much of your thinking is stinking thinking, right? And I'm not here to tell you, change your thinking. You got to stop thinking negatively. You can only have positive thoughts. I don't think that's possible. We're going to have negative thoughts. But I would encourage you to allow those negative thoughts to pass, like clouds in the sky, like water down the creek. Just let them pass. You don't have to attach yourself by negative thoughts. You don't have to swim in them. You don't have to live in them. You can literally let them pass. We don't have to fix our thinking, but please, we don't have to believe the negative thoughts either. If you're stinking thinking, so what? Yeah, over time we can get into a habit of thinking a little bit more positively and a little bit more proactively about what we want. But, we don't have to believe those thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your symptoms. You are you. Wonderful, special, amazing, powerful. Embrace that. Let the stinking thinking float on by. So, I don't know if I did this topic any justice. These are just my ramblings today. Don't believe your thoughts unless they're the good ones. Those you can grab onto. But the negative ones, so what? You just had a negative thought, big deal. It's nothing to fix. You're not broken. You just had a negative thought. So, love you guys and gals. Stinkin' thinking. Everybody does it. Don't let it define you. Don't latch on to them. And you don't have to believe them. Just let them go. So, with that, I'm going to wrap this one up. My hand's getting cold. Keep on switching which hand is holding the camera so I can put the other one in the pocket. Didn't think it was cold enough for gloves. Guess it was. Anyway, love you guys and gals. We will see you tomorrow.